Hey y'all, this is Ashlyn Craft, and you are listening to The Train Wreck That Is, the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver.
Welcome to the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver, brought to you by Arlo Revolution. Each week, Aaron connects melodies and memories with fans and artists from all genres of life. When all else in life is gone, only music will be left to leave the legacy of life's adventures. Please welcome your host for the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast, Aaron Shriver.
For once, we didn't sound like rookies. What's up, guys? We were so nervous about tonight. Whew.
It ain't over yet.
Facebook was giving me error messages right off the bat tonight. So if you guys saw like 2 or 3 feeds right away, that's probably what was going on. We were trying to fit everything in. But welcome to the show. We're going to give it 13 seconds to catch up, make sure everything sounds good before we really get going.
I got us. We're good.
We're good?
Good? We're good.
All right. Yeah, sound good tonight. All right, guys, just a little disclaimer before we start off the show. Last couple of weeks, we've had live trouble. Let's hope it's not going to happen again. I'm working on trying to figure out what's going on with our third-party hosting to make sure everything runs smooth. Tonight so far, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe it knew who my guest was, and like if it didn't work, she'd whoop the shit out of him. I don't know, but we'll see.
Could be.
Yeah, it might be. All right, guys. Welcome to the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast, a show that promotes inspiration and positivity while connecting melodies to memories with fans, artists, and a few interesting people in and around the music community. I'm your host, Aaron Shriver. Tonight, we are presented by our good friends over at Arlo Revolution, cinematic wedding films, music videos, and promos. You can find them at arlorevolution.com. Our on-screen sponsors are Art on a Higher Wire by Joelle, original custom artwork inspired by your life moments, treasured photos, and memories. You can find her all over Facebook. It's amazing artwork. If you guys ever checked her out, I'm sure a lot of our listeners tonight have seen a lot of work by Joelle. And then last but not least, Corey Oliphant and the original church choir. Just really cool to see them every week and have their logo on the screen, because that's where the show started, was with those guys back in season 1. And we got another OC member coming up soon. So in March, what you see, it's going to be a good time. But we thank all of our sponsors and everybody for the continued support and the growth of this show. We got back on the charts in the top 150 on Apple. I think it was like 2-3 days ago. I got the alert. So I think we were like 142 for a couple of days. So that was kind of nice. But if you guys are out there, just continue supporting the show if you can. If you're looking for ways to support us, though, the heart of our show, we talk about every week, is our Patreon page. Tiers start at just $1. Our current goal is set at 100 Patreons. We're 35 away. You can also sponsor and advertise with us through Patreon. We have room for 2 more on-screen sponsors, and soon we're actually going to be doing a lot of audio sponsors too on that side for the streaming side of things. So if you guys are looking into that, get a hold of me. And then also, if you guys are listening to this on a streaming platform, just remember we are live every Tuesday night on Facebook and YouTube sometimes, if it works. Join us over there, and you can interact. It's really cool. So ask questions. It's really fun. You guys, if we have artists on, you ask favorite artist questions. Tonight, if you have anything you want to ask Mandy, I'm sure she'll give you a shit answer for it. So it'll be fun. But let's see. This will be fun. I'm getting rowdy tonight. So they were good. Yeah. Last but not least, if you guys can't support us through Patreon, anywhere you guys are listening to the show or find the show, if you guys could like, share, review, and subscribe it. If you guys are iPhone users, the Apple Podcast, if you guys can do a 5-star review on there, that's what helps us get those charts and get seen and heard by more people. So it's even fun to spread the word. And that's all the good stuff. Yeah. So our couple of topics tonight, as you guys saw before we started, Raise Rowdy Takeover starts next week. It's gonna be a great one with Nick Tressler, the founder of Raise Rowdy, and then he has handpicked 3 artists to follow that will be coming on here, and it's gonna be a good time. Every week we have a different one, and do a damn good Friday or February. And last but not least, going back to Patreon, our Patreon giveaway, we are drawing next week for the winner. We did add another item, which I was hoping to. So we're giving away an Eric Church These shirts, the black stage tee. You pick the size, we'll get it for you and get it out to you. Ashlyn Craft t-shirt and koozie. And then last but not least, we are getting an Ashlyn Craft autograph show poster in. So she did agree that she'll sign a couple posters. I'm going to send her a couple, and we're going to add that to the prize pack. So we will be drawing next week. If you are a Patreon member, you are automatically involved into this every month. So a little fun giveaway. All right. I think that brings us to the fun part of the night. You ready for that part?
Well, so far, so good.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. So tonight we're welcoming a good friend of mine and a fellow church choir member, Mandy Javens. Mandy is as passionate as they come when it comes to being a fan of music, but her motivation, inspiration, what stands out with her. Normally, if she's not flipping you off on an Instagram post, she's a pretty kick-ass person too. So we're gonna bring Mandy on, and we're gonna have a little fun chat tonight. What's going on? How you doing tonight?
Unmute her.
Oh, you're muted. Hold on.
Hang on.
Yep, you're muted. See here?
There we go.
I like having a mute button on her.
I was gonna say, are you muting me so I don't give you those shit answers?
I don't know what we're doing, but we're having fun with it.
Something tells me there's going to be a whole lot of sass tonight.
Oh, she's gonna have fun tonight. Oh, we have a comment. We don't get Patreon benefits with our church choir membership. No, you guys get a vinyl that half the people don't get.
Right?
So, guys, welcome Mandy to the show. I'm very excited to bring her on. We actually were supposed to do this in December. I don't know who came around that we bumped you for and then moved you back to episode 69. We're like, hey, I'll give you 69. She's like, all right, I'll take it. So it's the only time I'll ever be able to say that to her in my entire life. But how you doing tonight?
I'm good, hanging in there.
Did you have your Jack and Apple tonight, or wherever you're drinking?
Yep. And a few shots beforehand.
That's always a fun one. So let's just kick it off, man. When you you're a huge music fan, you're passionate about music. Where did this passion come from? I mean, what's your earliest memory of music in your household?
So there's a video floating around somewhere that I keep telling my dad that he needs to find. I'm like 4, my brother's like 2. And we're in a hotel room singing Van Halen in a camera tripod. Like my
Luckily,
dad.
I didn't find that video.
What?
So luckily, I didn't find that video, or else I would have definitely had it.
Oh, I keep telling him, like, you need to go in the attic and find it. But that was like, my parents were both into music, and I always say, like if you listen to my playlist, you can tell that like I had influences from everywhere. I grew up in inner city Cleveland. If that tells you anything. But my dad was big into rock and my mom loved country. So
Nice.
like, he would be Saturday cleaning the house, singing the Carpenters. On the other hand, Saturday night, we'd be like AC/DC, the Eagles, Hell Freezes Over DVD or VHS maybe back then, over and over.
I remember those old
that
school
was just what we
VHS.
did with my dad. Like, everything we did with my dad was something to do with music.
Nice.
So
what was your first concert? You remember? Did your parents take you to one young or no?
I was young. However, I knew you were going to ask me this, and I'm not sure I want to admit it, but I will.
Uh-oh.
So my first concert was the Spice Girls in 4th grade.
Sweet. All right. So you're definitely what Spice Girl were you though? I mean, which one did you? I mean, you had to have your favorite.
I don't even know if I had my favorite. Maybe Baby, but I don't remember.
That's one group I never had the fortunate time of seeing. I never got to see the Spice Girls. One of these days, maybe I'll get to go back.
I saw them at Blossom. And I'll never forget it. But we always joke about it now. That was my really.
I tell everybody my first concert was Kiss, which technically the first concert I remember was Kiss. But my parents took me to see this guy probably late 80s. And then we only stayed I don't even know who we went and saw. We only saw the opener and we left, but his name was Tommy Page. It was like an 80s boy band or something. He's over here freaking out. I don't know who
Tommy Page.
Was he big back then? I remember seeing
Holy crap.
It was at the what was over in Algonquin or Arlington Heights, the old Poplar Creek.
Poplar Creek, yeah.
Poplar Creek Amphitheater. Yep.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, so we all have those little concerts, but I don't remember that one. So I'm like, I don't remember. It doesn't count. But yeah, it was Tommy Page we went and saw because they still have the ticket stuff.
That's pretty badass.
He said that was badass. I don't know. I don't remember who the hell he was. Was he like a pop band, right? Or a pop group?
He was, yeah. Oh God. Not was it? No, Styx. No. I got to look that up now.
That was Tommy Shaw.
That's Tommy John.
No, Tommy Shaw.
Oh, Tommy Shaw. Right.
This guy's over thinking about Tommy John.
Tommy Page. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, we both have.
You go on. I'll do my thing.
We both had the bad concert stories. The first one. So
Yes.
from learning from Spice Girls in the country and everything else, when you got to high school, what were you listening to then? Because I always bring this question up because that's like the time when people started rebelling and going against the music that they were grown up against. I mean, did you have that period where you kind of moved around and kind of dabbed in a little other stuff?
I think we've talked about this, Aaron. So I listen to a lot of rap. A lot. And to this day, my dad will tell you that he was embarrassed. Like he was mortified because my bedroom was in the upstairs of the house, and he would come home and he would hear like, oh gosh, Dr. Dre, like you name it, Yin Yang Twins, Juvenile, blaring like, explicit lyrics. And we had elderly neighbors, and he was like, I was mortified because our neighbors could hear that out the window. But I mean, that was what I knew. I mean, you went to school. I grew up in inner city Cleveland and then went to public school after that. Like, so I had like a really big mix of music, and he wasn't overly thrilled with it.
I was Chicago suburbs, so yeah, I had a lot too, and that's where it was. It just came from. I mean, so I listened to some hip hop, but I was also I went the Grateful Dead route and did a lot of that too. So I had a lot of that, but I would still listen to hip hop on the side. I was just confused.
Yeah, I always say like I was seriously confused because I mean, like even if you listen to my playlist now, it's just
it's all over the place. It's what feels good and what sounds good. So I mean, that's why to me genres doesn't matter anymore. It's just like I listen to everything in every genre. If it sounds good, I'll listen to it. If it's crap, I'll leave it alone. But let's see. So with that, so you didn't meet, or when did you first discover Eric Church's music? Because I know that's where I met, was through church. Where did your church passion come from?
So I always joke about this because my husband introduced me to him in 2000, and it would have been 2007.
Okay. And
I always joke about it because now, like, he's like, why do we have to go see him 20 million times? I know that he, after all the money and the merch, and he's probably like, shit, what did I do? Like, what did I do? Like, so he still likes him, but he just doesn't get that craze.
Yeah.
So I always joke about it. You regret that, don't you?
He's like, yeah.
He's like, not necessarily.
So, did you see him in concert first, or where did it come from? Did you hear him on the radio? Your first time ever?
No, we were in the car. I don't remember where we were going, but we were in the car, and we were going somewhere, and it was Guys Like Me.
Nice.
It was the first song that he ever played. So like from there, it was like we didn't really travel a lot. Like I was in college, we were poor. Like it wasn't like, oh, we could just go wherever. When he was in town, we'd go see him, but it was more of just following the music as it came out. Yeah. And then it just got worse and worse.
Well, that's what I mean. That's how I started. But no, I just kind of went balls to the wall when I first met this guy. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to as many shows as I can, just because I enjoyed it. And people they'll ask me like, why did you start going to so many shows of his? And I was like, it was the music that just kept me bringing me back, because for one, the show was never the same. It was always a different show. When I went back, I felt like I never knew what the set list was, what he was going to do.
Right.
And I enjoyed it, because if someone called something out, he'd just be like, whatever, let's play a little bit of that, or just go into it and have fun with it. There was one time where he sang Dang Me on a TV show, and I was just like, dude, you should just play Dang Me one night. And he did. I mean, he just played a little bit of it, but it was just cool. And it was just cool. Like, it would always be something different with church. And that's what kept bringing me back. But it was more just the experience, like hanging out with everybody, because early on, it was just like we were building friendships. And then I remember I met you. I met you young, like, well, I think it'd be around Chief, I thought. Was it before then? I want to
say it was probably the 2017 meet and greet, maybe, at the church choir party.
Okay. So I thought it was a little earlier than maybe. You were on the social medias though, or on the socials, right? Following him?
No, I had like no idea that this stuff was like even around.
Really?
And actually, this is really funny. So like when I first got in the groups, and I still laugh about this.
Yeah.
So at some point I got in the groups and met Frazee, and I'm
Sorry
at like a
about
Brothers Osborne concert, and John Seltzer comes up to me, never met him before, and I had a choir shirt on, and he's like, what did he say? He's, oh, I like your shirt. And then he's like, do you know Taylor and Mitch? And he's like,
This
they're my
explains
friends.
her entire
And
being.
I was like, so I stood there and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. So he like goes further away and I take my camera out and I like zoom in on him. And I've told him this. And I send it to Fraser and I'm like, do you know this guy? So it was kind of like those weird things where we're just at other shows. And
Yeah.
then like, you know, you start meeting people and then they're like, oh yeah. So Frazee writes back and he's like, that's Seltzer. So that was kind of how we met, like just by accident. Like I happened to be standing somewhere with a church choir shirt on at a Brothers Osborne show in the front, like we were both in the front row and he just happened to see me like walking through.
That's awesome.
But
I'm sorry that was the first two guys you met, though. I mean, that explains a lot, though.
But Brothers Osborne?
No, Frazee and John.
Oh.
Both of them are former guests of the show, both amazing guys. So, but yeah. So you met them, and that's when you really got introduced to the rest of the group and the whole choir, then pretty much, and kind of
that's around the time when I got in the groups. Like that, somebody told me, like, do you know these groups even exist? Like, no, there are other crazy people like me.
That's funny. How many shows do you think you saw at that point when you first really started meeting everybody else?
I don't know. Like how many concerts in general?
Yeah, of Eric's. Were you seeing them a lot at that point or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been 17. So we probably really started going for the Holding My Own tour. So maybe, my heavens, maybe 8, 9, something like that.
All right.
I'm trying to think.
So
that would have been,
where you at right now? How many shows you been so far to right now? Yeah. She's like, look at I gotta look at my notes. That's what's funny about choir members. They always have shows. Everybody.
Like 19 maybe.
Oh, nice. All right. Hey, that's anybody. When I see that and see like anybody over 5 shows, like that to me is just like badass, because it's unheard of someone going to see an artist more than like 2-3 times, let alone like hundreds, 5, 20. I mean, how long? True. How many times have you seen your favorite artist?
5.
Who is that?
Bryan Adams.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And there's a story behind that. For the record, I wouldn't actually call him my favorite artist, but he's the one that has the most meaning in my life.
There you go. Well, speaking of that, for you, Mandy, church, what does Eric Church mean to you? Is it music? Is it friendship? I know that he played a big role in your life. Where did he kind of come in to kind of really, it's like, oh man, this guy's gonna be life changing, where he's gonna really do something different for me. Where did that kind of come into you for you and his music?
Okay, so back in, it would have been 17. So back in 2017, that would have been during like the Holding My Own tour. I had a medical diagnosis, and I'll just throw it out there. It was a false diagnosis, but I didn't know it for 4 months. Yeah. They diagnosed me, and you know, like when I'm not going to go into all the medical terms and stuff, but when they diagnosed me, it was basically like I was never going to have any more kids if I wanted them. At the time, we really didn't plan to have any more, but that was the end of it. And then like there was some concern, like if it got worse, would I die?
Oh.
And so I was like, I can tell you the exact date. It was April 16th when they told me that. That weekend was the Pittsburgh Holding My Own tour, or the show. Mm-hmm. And we went to that show, and I was so mentally distraught that like I didn't enjoy that show. Like we didn't have we had seats, we didn't have pit tickets, but I remember like trying to stay in the music, and the whole show was ruined because I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so then I was pissed. I'm like, this ruined the show for me. Like I can't change this diagnosis. I was pissed. So like then I started realizing like this is probably my escape. Like because when I was with my kids and with my family, all I can think about was what if I die and they don't have me and they grow up without a mom.
Yeah.
So like it was to the point where I'd come home from work and I would go to sleep, and I'd get up in the morning at 5 a.m. and be in the shower crying. It was bad. Like my mental health was bad. and nobody really knew it. I didn't share the diagnosis at work. I didn't share the diagnosis with maybe 4 or 5 people. So I was holding it all in, and then decided like, I'm going to go to shows and maybe that'll be my escape. So I went to one and I went to another and I went to another. And I'm sure that people I work with thought I was insane, honestly, because I didn't know how to handle it, but that was my escape. Like that was where I could go, and it went away for a little while. So that was the year I got the meet and greet. And I remember I was visiting somebody. I was at work. I stopped in to check on one of my clients, and I had been waiting. I kept checking my email for this meet and greet, like for days. If you remember, that took forever that year for them to give.
You always be like, oh, dude, you're refreshing it. I'm going to get it this time.
Well, yeah, you keep looking. So I remember walking this, and actually it was funny because I had taken him a pair of I always have like aviator glasses. So I had taken, he's 74 years old at the time. I had taken him a pair of aviators, and we had taken a picture in these aviators.
Nice.
And I leave and I get in my car and I'm like, I'm just going to check it one more time before I leave. So I check it, and the meet and greet was there. And I will never forget just sitting in my car shaking. Just like shaking, like I didn't even know what to do with myself. So I went back to work and I'm like, well, I'm not going to be here on these days. But like to this day, like I always say, that meet and greet saved my life. Like that meet and greet came at the time when I needed it the most. So that year, like my husband, he probably could have killed me, but it was my only escape. I mean, I followed Brothers Osborne everywhere. I followed Luke. I followed Eric. Like that was what we did. That was, 4 months later, I found out that they accidentally made a mistake on the diagnosis and I was fine.
Yeah.
But during that time, I didn't know that. And that was my only way to, like, I don't know how it would have affected my mental health otherwise. I mean, like without that, but I wasn't good.
Yeah. That was your escape. I mean, it honestly, to me, that's the same thing with me. I mean, when it comes to church shows and everything, like, I tell people I go there to let out emotions. That's for me. I've laughed, I've cried, every emotion I've came out at church eventually. I mean, I've been pissed at people at times. I'm sure it's in the crowd because there's assholes that throw in stuff, and you always get those pit assholes every now and then. But I've had every emotion at church, and that's where I go to let it out, and sometimes too. And it's people joke because his last name is Church, but it's kind of like going to a church, and it's where you kind of really. For us, I mean, it's kind of where we learn like our lyrics are being sung out, and because everybody that follows church and likes church, they like him for one reason, because he's relatable. I mean, we all have a song he has a song for everybody. And I know this new album's probably the exact same way, just because it's gonna be some deep stuff probably, and that's one reason why he's so relatable. I have people that'll come to me, I hate country music, but I like Eric Church. And stuff like that is just like, well, why? I mean, because he's twanging as hell when he sings. I mean, he's definitely a country singer, but his band's not country. So what makes you guys like him? Like, it's just lyrics. It's just the way he stands out. So and I like that we could all relate to that in a way through his music.
Well, and then like after I found that out, we were, I was like, you only live once, and that's when we decided to have our last kid. And everyone was like, you're gonna name him Eric, and I was like, I'm not that fucking like, but we did name him Gibson because of the hummingbird. So, I mean, like had all of that not have happened, I mean, we were kind of done having kids until we had like this moment, like you only live once. Yeah. So we decided, okay, forget it. We're going to have one more. And that's kind of where his name came from, was that it was inspired by him. Just because without that, we probably would have been like, no, we're done having kids. And he's just a ray of, like, he is like a ray of sunshine. That kid is, like, I can be happy with him being our last one. So
yeah, right. How old is he?
He turned 2 in July.
I love this picture too of him on the guitar. I love it. We had to do the same when was it Jackson? I think it was when Jackson was born. We did the whole guitar one. I'm like, you got church do it. You got to do it. You always came out looking good. That's cool that you got signed too, and with the Aviators.
Yep. And then that was at the beginning of the tour. That was the Cleveland show, and then at the end of my very last show in Connecticut, he signed his boot. He finally got his boot. So
there you go.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it was always fun. I mean, it's cool when he does that, and I love how church has started like going towards like the kids now and doing stuff more for kids, and I love it because he's bringing the families into the show. I mean, once my boys get a little older, I'm sure we'll take them to a show. They've been
they're little.
Yeah, Jackson's been to a couple fan club parties, but we'll see. I mean, we'll get into a show one of these days.
You got to take me to a show one of these days.
You'll like it, man. You'll have fun. I'll break you in.
Good times.
I'll break you in. So during all this, let's see. Yeah, we'll jump into that later. So we did a lot of that already. Man, we've been jumping around already on my notes. We're doing good. We're flying through these things tonight. No, so during all this, one thing that you've had a huge transformation over the last few years. I want to talk a little bit about that because that's one reason why I want to have you on, just the motivation and everything else I've seen. You've lost 175 pounds. How? Why? What gave you the drive? Where did it all come? Where did it come from?
So anytime you hear me talk about weight loss,
Yeah.
you'll hear me talk about like finding your why. There's and maybe I'm a huge nerd, but there's a TED Talk by Simon Sinek. And it's called How Great Leaders Inspire Action. And it's basically, it's business related, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's talking about how companies are successful and how they sell what they sell, whether it's a service or a product. And he talks about, companies know what they do and they know how they do it. But really the companies that are successful are the ones that know why. So I always think about that with weight loss. You know what you want to do and you know how to do it, whether you want to admit it or not, you know how to do it. You know what you need to do. It's why, like what is driving you to do that? For me, it was like when I was 350 pounds, my cholesterol was high. My blood pressure was high. My triglycerides were high. I was borderline diabetic. I was having stroke-like symptoms. I was out of shape. Yeah. And like, that's scary as a mom to think like I could die and my kids won't, have a mom. I had one kid at the time. So, like it was scary to think that he could not have me. And that was my biggest why. But the other thing was, like whenever I'd go somewhere, whether it was the mall or wherever, I would avoid any mirrors. I would avoid any reflective surface because I didn't want to see myself.
Did you take mirrors out of your house too?
No, I didn't take them out of my house, but like I would avoid them, like anything that I could see myself in. And that obviously causes some depression. But really it was, the biggest thing was I need to get healthy. So like it was New Year's Eve. It was 2012. New Year's Eve, I was like, I'm doing this. This is like, people say New Year's resolutions don't work. Well, for like a month, I like prep myself. You better be ready, girl. January 1, it is done. And I remember sitting in the living room, this huge like piece of pie, like it's over after this, girlfriend. And like, I just chowed down on that pie. And then the next day, like I went cold turkey, very strict, because I knew I had to be strict. Like there was no cheating because I knew I couldn't handle a little cheat here and be able to go back. Yeah. And like I always say, like people will say, what's your, like, I need your motivation. Well, it's not necessarily that, like, I can't give you my motivation. And really, you don't just find motivation. You make some kind of change and you see a result and you get motivation. Like you have to have an action first. You're
absolutely right, because I'm down 75 pounds. Yeah, 75 pounds. And mine was, everybody asked me, like, they always ask, like, what'd you do? And I'm like, it was Adderall. That's why I tell everybody at first, because it's kind of funny the way you say it. I got diagnosed with ADHD. Well, I've had it since I was a kid, but about a year ago, it's been a little over a year now. I started Adderall. But the minute I did that, I saw things start changing. But everybody's like, you got to force yourself to eat. You got to stop doing that. But when I saw it start changing, I'm like, okay. I got back on track. I got my focus. And then I started seeing how much of an asshole I was drinking, and I quit drinking. And that's when I started seeing everything change.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but yeah,
even with
a little change, you roll with it.
I've never been a pop drinker. And, people talk about that all the time. They, even that tiny change of stopping pop can cause a significant weight loss. And I always joke that I wish I did drink pop, because then I could have stopped that. But I haven't drank pop since second grade. So, my diet though was awful. My diet was awful, but I got to the point where I would run a 5K every morning and then lift. But I didn't, I only had one kid at the time. My husband worked second shift. So every morning at 5 o'clock, I was at the gym. I ran a 5K, I lifted, showered at the gym, and went to work. And that was just, when I first started, I couldn't even walk on the treadmill.
Oh, wow.
So it was just that constant, like, once I saw results, I was more motivated, and I got more results, and then I was more motivated. And it's just that, like, once you get it going, that cycle, you see results, you want more, you're more motivated. So that's why I always say, what's your why? Why do you want to do this?
Well, you set little goals. I'm sure at first you had a goal of like 10, 15 pounds, right? I'm going to get to this first goal. And then once you got there, you're like, hey, you got motivated to keep on moving it. Yeah. And I think it is. If you don't get to that first goal, if you lose it before that, it's not going to keep you motivated. I mean, you got to have baby steps to get to your long-term goal.
Right. And that's a big mistake people make sometimes is they set this huge goal. I want to lose 80 pounds. Okay, that's great. But let's make a goal that's more realistic right now so that you can, celebrate that goal, that first accomplishment, and move on to the next. You have to celebrate those little accomplishments along the way.
So during the time, did you have, what was your challenges or weaknesses? Like, I'm sure during the years, so you were about 8-9 years in now. When did you hit like your goal weight, like your original goal weight?
So I, of course, lost 175 pounds and then got pregnant. So I got pregnant, and then it was like I had three more boys. They're like 18, 19 months apart. I mean, their birthdays are 18, 19 months apart. So I always joke that like by the third one, I never had morning sickness because my body was like, shit, we're doing this again. Like, we know what we're doing. So with each of them, I like gained like 10 pounds. So recently, like during the quarantine, we got home and I'm working from home all of a sudden, and I'm like, I'm not moving, even just getting out and taking them to daycare, going to work, moving back and forth to the printer. Like my steps were obviously a lot higher than what they were sitting at home. And I was like, I've got to get this back under control because I didn't do all this work to just let it go.
Yeah.
So then I started running again, and I was doing a couple fitness programs, took some back off. So now I'm back down. But, after all the kids, like that was one thing. Life got so busy. It's like, okay, when do I have time now? And it's really not, that's an excuse. Like I found the time, like you have to make the time, you have to prioritize it. So I figure it out, sometimes I'm working out at midnight after they're in bed, but
you gotta find the time somewhere. Exactly. You gotta find the time somewhere to do it because I watch a lot of motivation stuff. And someone said, if you sleep 8 hours a day, you're not winning. And I kind of laughed when I heard that because they say you gotta get 8 hours of sleep. Is that your minimum to get? I'm like, there's not enough hours in the day to sleep 8 hours a day. I mean, there's some times where I'll do 4 or 5 hours just because I have a list of stuff I gotta get done, and I feel like that motivates me even more is when I know, hey, I'm gonna get the 4 hours, get up, go back to work, and just get this going and stay on track and stay focused. And sometimes you gotta do that. You gotta cut down, make risks to succeed or to get where you want to be.
Right. Yeah, it is what it is.
Let's see what Joel says. You've been an incredible inspiration, support for me. So exactly, that's another thing I really want to bring up. You've been very vocal about your weight loss and everything you do about it on social medias, and I think for a lot of people that is inspiration because there's a lot of people that aren't like that. Social media could be a good thing at times, people. If you guys pay attention, it's not all bullshit out there, but there is a lot of motivation on social media where you could see somebody else making the change. Did you have anybody that you were kind of looking up to while you were doing this that was motivating you that you just really didn't tell them that you were motivated by them?
Not really, actually. Okay. But at the time, the Biggest Loser was a popular show. Yeah. So I was kind of watching that, but not really anyone that I knew personally.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because always.
I mean, that's why I'm so vocal about it though, because like I know what it's like to feel helpless. Like I know what it's like to be at 350 pounds and feel like I'm never gonna get it off. I'm never gonna be able to wear cute clothes. I'm never gonna be healthy. I mean, it's very hard to be in that position and you have 175 pounds to lose. It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm so vocal about it, because if I can help one person get to that point, where they're like, I can do this, it's worth it. I mean, there are some posts that I'm like, shit, should I post this? Like, I'll sit and
yeah. Oh yeah.
And then I'm just like, you know what?
Well, especially like when it comes to weight loss. I mean, a lot of people like to post the before, the afters, and everything else. And people are iffy about posting things like that because you never know about social media anymore. But to me, I think it's inspiration because people see that and it motivates others. And you got like people like Joelle. She's like your support and everything is motivating her to do what she's doing.
I love you, Joelle.
She's amazing. She's definitely an amazing person. But yeah, I love definitely the support and everything like that. Now, something else I kind of just prepping the show today and looking through things, you do a lot of meal prep, and I see a lot of that. A lot of people doing meal prep and stuff that I wanted to get into more. My wife and I, but we just haven't had the time or anything. Tell me to you what is how being a mom, meal prepping, and for your weight loss and everything else. How important is it to you doing all that?
So it makes my life a lot easier, honestly. Like Sundays, typically now. Right now, I'm doing it on Saturdays because my mom and dad are trying to lose weight. My mom's had some health issues that I wanted to help with her legs. And so I've been doing it on Saturdays so that I can meet them on Sundays and get it up there so that they have it for the week as well. But typically I do it on Sundays. And the thing is with it is when it's already in the fridge, it's already cooked, it's purchased, like you already have it done. You don't, like you pop it in the microwave for a couple minutes and you're done versus, now it's, you got off work, you ran all these errands, you did stuff for the kids and it's 7 o'clock and you haven't ate. So you run through a drive-through. Yeah. It's already there. I always try to make things that we enjoy because then it's not like, I really don't want to eat that. So I always switch it up. I don't really make a lot of the same things over and over and over. But that's really why I do it, because then I know that it's already there and I'm not tempted to go somewhere else and buy something that's not as good for me. It's a little harder. It's foolproof. I mean, like if you're already cooking all the healthy stuff, it's harder to have a bad week if it's already there.
Yeah.
So at home, I'm kind of doing the same thing. We try to do, I'm the chef right now because I'm unemployed. So I'm doing all the cooking at home myself. Where do you get your menu items? Where do you get your meals from? Because I'm having such a hard time trying to come up with unique and different things and keeping it healthy and whatnot.
So like Pinterest is probably your best friend. Like
really?
If you go in there and just search meal prep, you can find tons of ideas. So I go in there and I'll basically like some nights I'll just sit there and just add stuff to my, to my little boards, my Pinterest boards. And then, when I go to make my grocery list, I just go in there and I'm like, that kind of sounds good. And that's kind of how I decide what I'm going to make for the week. I already have it saved and I just go through and grab all the ingredients and write them down. And
yeah, I make the menu out for the whole week. I steal stuff from Weight Watchers cookbooks and stuff like that. And I just try to make sure that we're eating healthy. We're working with a nutritionist, but damn it, I cannot get rid of the weight. Neither can my wife. So you're inspiring us right now. So thank you.
Well, message me at some point. I'll help you as best.
All right, cool. I'll take it.
There you go. See, look, we're changing people here right here on the show. So you sent over a picture. Actually, before we move on, I had something written down. You are a brand ambassador for. Talk about this Bullet Bar. Talk about that for a quick second. I know you got a code and everything. Go ahead and drop your code. That way, if anybody's listening, they can help you out. I saw it on your Instagram today, so I want you to go ahead and.
Oh my God, even now it's Mandy J.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and tell us about it.
So, Built has protein bars, and the best way, like a lot of protein bars you get. Actually, I have some stashed here. Because they're my fave.
She was ready. She even know I was going to ask her about this. She was ready.
I didn't, but so they're almost like candy bars. I like equate them to candy bars, and I always say that they're like it helps me with my sweet tooth. Like these are new. They're coming back in April because they sold out. Dark chocolate cookie dough. They're 150 calories. So like this is usually like my breakfast in the morning. But like they don't have like that nasty protein aftertaste. And you could buy mixed boxes with like all the different flavors, and I haven't had one that I don't like.
All right.
And then they also have Built Boost, which is a vitamin drink. They call it Built Boost because the vitamins in it are supposed to give you a boost. It's not like caffeinated or like an energy drink, but it's the vitamins in it. And I really enjoy those as well. So those have kind of been my because I don't drink pop or anything.
Yeah.
So those are pretty good, and I just love them because you don't have to worry about the calories. They kind of help you with your sweet tooth, and they've just been great. So I really love them.
That is awesome. And what was your code again? It was Mandy J. You said.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys are listening. Go online, right? Mandy J online, and they save what 10% or something.
If you go, I can post the
Yeah,
link. I have it. I don't know it off the top of my
We'll
head,
put
but
the link in the chat later on after the show. I'll
okay.
post the link out for everybody. So if anybody's listening, if you guys want to check these bars out, definitely look up later. Look at the link. We'll hit it up there. Actually, someone's asking how much. Joel wants to know how much protein's in them. If you know.
They are now usually they're on sale. I don't even know. I usually spend about $65 for 2 boxes, I want to say, of 18 bars. They usually break down to maybe about $1 a piece or something. Sometimes you can get some good promos on there as well.
So I gotta ask you.
I honestly,
go ahead.
They're so good that I don't like. I'm really bad. Like I'll go buy 4 boxes and I'm like, I don't care how much they are. So that was why I was like, I probably should just be a brand ambassador for them because I'll just go on.
So how much protein and is there coconut in it?
There are some coconut ones.
Because I'm allergic to coconut, so that's why I'm asking.
He's like, I need it.
See, this is a mixed box.
Sorry, Aaron, I'm taking over right now.
You're all good, man. You're good.
I'm like just gonna open these. Built Bar is probably like, hell yeah, girl. So there's, I'll just read
The people want to know.
Banana bread, peanut butter brownie.
So there are
2 coconut ones that you probably can't have, but the you don't have to buy the mixed box. But yeah, you'll find something you like.
All right, cool. And how can you tell me real quick how much protein's in it?
So they're all different.
Just give me.
I feel like I'm at work right now. How much THC percentage is in that?
Right. What are the percentages in here? What are the vitamins? What do you got in there?
Okay.
Do you have CBD in this? Is there any CBD in those?
This one has 18 grams.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it's only 160 calories. So if your body can only absorb 30 grams of protein at a time.
Right.
If you didn't know that.
Yep.
So 18 is pretty good. This one has 19, so they vary a little bit. But you do get a decent amount of protein in them.
Cool. All right, Aaron, you can have your show back.
I love it. Well, hey, Jessica wanted to see the stash. We got the stash out. So I didn't know she was talking about me. Or I was nervous at first. I know.
Yeah, not that kind of stash.
No.
Not that.
So when I was looking at pictures earlier, I had pull up these of Alice Cooper and your boy. You got to tell me this story. You took him to a show?
Yes. He's been to 2.
Nice.
He was supposed to go. I was so mad. He was supposed to go on it was supposed to be for Father's Day for Father's Day and his birthday. We had really good seats at Blossom where I saw Spice Girls.
Hey,
on his birthday. And COVID took it out. So that was supposed to be his third I want to say his 3rd show. So he's gone a couple times, and every time he goes, he dresses up and everyone takes their picture with him. And he always really enjoys that, which is surprising because he's a little bit of an introvert.
Wow.
But he just goes and it pulls him out of his shell a little bit. We went one time and it was Deep Purple and Alice Cooper. And I grew up on Deep Purple with my dad and Alice Cooper, obviously. So like that was something we did before my kids were even born, was go see Alice Cooper. So now we take my oldest. And he got Deep Purple set list, his first show. And I was like, you have no idea the significance of this. But that's really cool. Okay, good job.
That is so cool. Yeah. That's what we took Jackson to see Kiss a year or 2 ago.
I remember
before that, and we painted his face up and everything. People were stopping to take pictures, and they're having a blast. And it's just so cool to bring the kids around all this, because I think my dad took me when I was like 17 or so. He took me to see Alice Cooper. I still remember that. It was one of the coolest shows.
And he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, when people say like, "What's your favorite show?" Like, it's like you can't compare Alice Cooper to Eric Church.
No.
I mean, they're two. Like, it's so theatrical. It's such a different vibe. But I love them both.
Yeah.
And the sentimental value of going to see Alice Cooper with my dad and now taking my oldest, like that's special to me every time we go.
And Alice Cooper, I mean, he created that whole shock genre. I mean, we know Marilyn Manson without Alice Cooper, I don't think. I mean, that kind of came from all that stuff. I mean, it started all that from back in the day, and it's awesome. They're still touring and still doing this. So you look at it and say,
so funny because people be like, you take your kid to see that devil worship stuff. And I'm like, if you know Alice Cooper, you know that like on the weekends,
He's golfing.
He's in church. He's actually, like, so people are like mortified that I take him, and
It's funny.
it's fine.
Well, I used to work at
He knows
the.
like he enjoys it though, and it's a good time with his grandpa. Like
Oh,
he
yeah.
will never replace like those memories he'll have forever.
Well, I used to work at the theater, and Alice Cooper would come through there every now and then. His one thing on his request was to find him a place to golf during the day. That was his one thing. Every show he goes and golfs like 9 or something, and he has to ask, like, if you ever want to meet Alice Cooper, anybody that's listening to this show,
check out the golf course.
go find the local golf course the day of his show, and you probably run into him. So
I mean, I would lose my mind if I was standing on. Not that I golf or anything, because I don't golf. I don't know, but I would lose my mind if I like looked over and there he was.
I have to show you the picture. I ever show you the picture I have of Jillian and I in Jackson with Alice Cooper? So he came through the theater I was working at, and I got his tour manager, whoever I was working with directly, because I was working in hospitality. She's like, hey, if you got anything you want signed, we'll get it. So I got a big poster, and he signed it to Jackson and everything else. But then like 2 months later, he was coming through on a convention in Chicago, and it was like $100 for a professional photo and an autograph from him. I'm like, and you can have like 2 people in the photo. I was like, Jillian, let's just go get a picture of Alice Cooper. And it was just supposed to be me, Jackson, and Alice Cooper. But then they're like, oh, bring Jillian in too. So Alice is holding Jackson, and Jillian and I are on both sides of him, and it looks like a family picture. So whenever anybody asks about it, I'm like, oh, that's his Uncle Alice. It just looks like a family picture.
Whatever.
This is hanging out with Uncle Alice there.
I'll tell you, when we were kids, my aunt, who since passed away, she was a huge Phil Collins fan. So was my dad. So they went to a show, and they did one of those things where like they pull a number, they pick a number like on the bottom of the seat, and you get to go backstage. So my dad won, and he didn't have the heart to go back to go back and not take my aunt, so he let her go back.
Yeah.
And so she goes back, and she gave him my dad's information. So like we come home, and this was like when you still had your what do you call it? Your not your voicemail, your answering machine, on the little tiny tape.
Oh man.
And we get home, and there's a voicemail from Phil Collins. And he had sent my dad like a package that had like drumsticks in it that never showed up. But it was so funny, his accent. Like we played this message, and it was him. Like he had called after this show because my dad had let her go back. So he has that tape stashed somewhere too. But I mean, that was just the coolest thing to come home and Phil Collins called your house.
Oh hell yeah! That's why I love this that Cameo app. If anybody's seen that yet, it's so cool because you get all these celebrities to do like videos and all this. That's just cool stuff. So you sent over a picture before. I know we're already a couple minutes over time, but tell me about this real quick. This is a really cool story that you were telling me about this. So we'll wrap up with this story before we move on to our fun segment. Oh, go ahead. Did you see you can't see the picture? Oh, that's right. You forgot you can't see that. It's the one the guy drew it for you, and then they had Eric sign it. That picture. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I worked for Marion County Board of DD at the time. I had been there for several years, and one of my clients there, who I just adore, he is a phenomenal artist, and we were trying to find employment for folks, and he was doing this thing where he was working at an art studio and was commissioning his work. And I said, if you paint me Eric Church, I'm gonna pay you for it, because I wanted it to be something that he earned money on. And a couple months went by, and I kind of wondered. I'm like, I wonder if he did that. And one day he's like, you got to come down to the art studio and see this painting. And by God, he did it. It was phenomenal. And it's still I know it's not an official piece, but it is my favorite because he, one of my favorite people made that for me. So I actually took it with me to the church choir party, or to Nashville when we went. But I was like, we're not supposed to take stuff in, and I didn't want to take a chance of having to lay it somewhere. So I decided to leave it in the hotel. So then when we went to New Hampshire a few weeks later, I was like, I'm going to take this. Well, when we get to the line, they were like, you can't take any signs down. And I was like, crap, what do I do with this big canvas? And one of the guys from the venue came and got it from me. And he's like, I'm going to take it backstage for you. So he took it back, and he said, when you're done, when the show's over, go get it at will call. And sure, I was kind of nervous because it just meant so much to me. Like, even if it wasn't signed. Like that piece of work meant so much to me. And sure enough, after that show, we show up to will call, and there it is, like signed. And so we took it back, and he was so excited. And it's funny now because I have this hat. He's like, I want his hat. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Eric isn't going to give me his hat for you. Like, I don't have those kind of connections. So every time we go to a show now, we take a hat because like my plan is to get him a hat signed so that I can take it back. So it's been a couple years, but we're still going to work on that for him.
That is awesome. So we have
it was just really cool because, you know, like with disabilities, it's always concentrating on what you can't do. Yeah. And that was, I really wanted to concentrate on what he was good at and what his strengths were. And he just blew it out of the ballpark. So
that's awesome. And you see a lot of this, and this is honestly one of the better looking ones I've seen. Cause you do see a lot of these that come through. You're like, oh, all right.
Yeah, he just did a great. I was so proud of him.
Yeah, it was amazing. So we have a special request. People are asking about your tattoo in the chat, so I have to put a picture up there. Tell me about your church tattoo real quick before we move on to the next segment.
So after I actually decided on, I found this drawing, online after all the health issues in 2017. And I was really scared. I was like, what if it's like a no regrets moment?
Yeah. Like
they screw up his face and it looks terrible and it's there forever. And so I sat on that idea until, 2020. And I finally found an artist who actually worked right down the road from me, like just a couple miles. And I was like, it's meant to be. Like, I'm just gonna do it. Cause when he looked at it, he's like, you're gonna want space to be able to do it. I'm like, forget it, just put it on my arm. And then after the Double Down tour, like that year was that tour, like you'll never replace that as far as memories go. So that's kind of where the colors and the bird came from. I added that afterwards because like just as I love commemorating
the watercolor feel.
What?
I love the watercolor feel to it because you also have his signature watercolor too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
really
I
cool.
have plans. I think I'm just gonna finish the whole sleeve. My husband will probably, I need to take a break on spending money. So I will do it eventually. I think I'm just going to say, forget it and do the whole arm, but.
There you go. Yeah. I'm going that same direction. I just got the Marley one over here and I'm like, all right, I'm going to start eventually filling the other arm. But when I did the same thing, I got Eric's really tiny. I got his face up here and I went to my local guy here and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And the one guy in the room, he's like, I ain't touching that. I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean you ain't touching that? He goes, I ain't touching that. He goes, it's going to expand. He goes, you're not going to like it. He goes, you're going to hate me in a year or two. And he goes, it's going to look like shit. And the other guy in there, which is actually the pothead in the tattoo shop, he's just like, he's a reggae guy. He's just like, I got you, homie. He's like, come on over here. And he's like, I'm like, all right, whatever. Let's do this. Let's see what it comes out. Because it's inside the glasses. So I was like, if he screws it up, if it looks like shit down the road, I'll just get the aviators filled in. So that was just my goal.
Funny because the guy like does realism, so this one's actually looks like a drawing.
Mm-hmm.
He tells me after the fact that it was actually harder for him because he's so used to the realism. But he said when we first started, he's like, I'm going to start with his face, and I was like, oh, thank God, because if you do that first, and I see that you're good, like I can calm down because I was like, oh shit, like still nervous about like, am I going to regret this when it's all jacked up? So thank God he did a phenomenal job.
No, it looks awesome. I'm glad they brought it up in the chat too. We could talk about it real quick. It is a badass tattoo. I had the picture on standby just in case. I'm like, oh, we're gonna run out of time, but I'm glad we got it in. And I found this picture too. I was kind of digging things. My Uncle Alice picture. I don't know if you see it on screen or no.
I can't.
You can't. Okay, I'll have to send it to you. I just put it up on screen real quick for anybody to see it. So I'll send it to you. But it's one of the funniest pictures. Alice Cooper's is holding Jackson up. He's like, who the hell is holding me? He's leaning away from Alice Cooper. I'm like, it's Uncle Alice. But yeah, I'll
he didn't get the significance of it.
Yeah, Will's saying he's having some video interference. I've been seeing that too. My screen's been flickering here and there, but we're just rolling with it. That's why I'm throwing me a little video disclaimer on these shows from now on, because honestly, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going for the audio and they'll be streaming tomorrow, but man, I don't know why I have such problems every week with something.
Except for that, this has been a flawless night.
For audio, yeah, other than flickering. Yeah, I see it too. I'm trying to ignore it. But so thanks, Bill, for bringing it up.
Yeah,
asshole.
thanks for pointing that out, man.
No. Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out too. But we'll get that worked out. I'm going to send this people message and be like, hey, what's going on with this whole thing? But all right, so we're gonna move over to our next segment real quick. We got to play like a little quick, like what, 20, 30 seconds of paying the bills. So
I don't know. Let's see what it is.
hang tight real quick.
This episode is powered by Pod Decks. Pod Decks are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience and have more meaningful conversations, you're going to want to check out Pod Decks. Now, if you want to get 10% off your order right now, you can go to poddex.com and type in coupon code. What's the code?
Fast on Memphis.
Yes, that's the
It's not
code.
good.
Check out poddex.com. Take your podcast to the next level.
All right, guys. Had to pay the bills on a new sponsor we got in, but it's cool because when we brought them in, they came with a bunch of questions too. So our next little segment is powered by Pod Decks, but we pulled 2 cards from this deck. It's really cool. It's a little deck of cards that any podcaster out there should actually have. It's pretty cool to have on hand. The first one was, as you get older, what do you realize your parents were right about when it comes to the future? So when you were a kid and they were telling me, oh, when you get older, and you're like, oh, whatever, parents. What was the one thing that you wished you would have? They were right about. You wish you would have hung on about.
I don't know. That's a tough one. Probably just like, when you're like a teenager and you're up in your bedroom and you're kind of away from your family and they're like, come downstairs, watch TV with us, hang out, like how precious time is.
Mm-hmm.
And to enjoy time with family, because you just never know. Like, when you're a teenager, you're just doing your own thing.
Yep.
But as my kids get older, I'm like, you kind of like, you're like trying to pull it back, like stop growing up so fast. So probably that, like just enjoying the things that seem so simple, that you take for granted.
Yep. No,
They're so different.
I feel that to the T. And I mean, just to kind of talk about that, one of my biggest regrets in life falls in exactly what you said. 2000, it was 99 to 2000. My grandfather's birthday was New Year's Eve. I was gonna go out for New Year's Eve with my friends. I was a senior in high school, and I was like, I'm going out. We're going out, hanging out. My mom's like, here's your grandfather's birthday card. I at least bought it for you. Just go give it to him. I was like, all right. Whatever. Well, I pulled a fast one. I never went out. My parents thought I was going out. I had having a party at the house. Had like 20 people over. We all were drinking. I never gave my grandfather's birthday card, and I still had that birthday card upstairs. So I'm glad you said that. But that's one thing that to me is like, listen to your parents when you're kids, because you never know when you're going to have a regret or when there's going to be something you regret. Because my grandfather died 2 months later. I never gave him his last birthday card. So yeah, stuff like that, it really sucks, but it's a life lesson. So when you have stuff like that, especially when there's little things that as little as a birthday card, man, all I had to do was just give it to them. But so kind of play off that. That's one thing. Always. All right, our second card. What current, new, or up and coming artists have you listened to lately that is still going to be relevant 2 years or 20 years from now? So we talked about Cody Jinks, or I saw a picture of that. Tucker, who in your eyes you think from 20 years from now, 2021 or what were you? 41. I'm like, where are we at right now? We're
Do
in
the
21.
math. It's okay. Yeah.
Who's going to be relevant on the radio?
Oh my heavens, that's hard. And I'll be honest, like the older I get, like the further I get from mainstream radio. So like I don't even listen to a lot of the stuff that's on the radio. I really enjoy finding artists that are like people don't know about or don't like have any idea about, and then I'm like, hey, check this person out. So a lot of the people that I'm listening to aren't even on the radio right now.
Yeah.
Like Church is probably, even Church, he's kind of, we have our thing with Church.
Well, he probably won't be relevant on the radio. He'll kick his ass off the radio by then. well, the question should be, would radio be relevant?
That's really hard for me. I can tell you who I love that probably nobody, or I shouldn't say nobody, but I love Casper McQuaid. He's one of mine that I'm just like, more people need to listen to him. I just think he's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And people just don't know that he's there. So I think that's tough for me because I don't listen to.
Well, that's why I want to know, because I mean, these are the people that are probably gonna be relevant in 20 years. The people that you're listening to now, they're still no-namers. I mean, it's funny that you said that because Corey Evers in the chat actually said that you were gonna say that, so I had it up on the screen.
Did he really?
Yeah, he called it out.
Well, Corey and I are really bad influences on each other. Like we spend a lot of money because of each other. Okay?
Right.
So I was like, hey, dude, you need this vinyl.
That's why I gotta stop listening to Johnson and Jeff Brown and those guys in our group chat, because every time, this guy's good, I'm over on Apple Music buying this damn song or something. Just like, I want to hear it. I don't know this guy Apple Music now, but
she said vinyl.
I love it, man.
Vinyl is the God, it's killer.
Well, you know what? And I'm gonna throw this out there real quick. So we're already over time. A lot of people are complaining right now in the whole choir about this whole vinyl issue going on. I'm so damn glad he's doing this because Eric has always made his music. Well, you don't know what's going on. I'll fill you in here in a second. Eric has always made his music something that is hard to get. I mean, I feel like he holds that music on until he's ready to give it away. He calls it his kids. I mean, he likes to kind of having control of that. And he's dropping an album in April. Well, 3 albums, but only 2 of them are going to be available. So 2 of them will be available on digital, vinyl, everything. One of them is going to the church choir only on vinyl.
That's awesome.
And people don't like it. People don't like it. I don't think that's the school is making a rarity out there.
Right?
It's making
she knows.
It's making it valuable. And I mean, yeah, it's great. It's music, but look what church has done with like posters and stuff like that. That's what sets him apart from people. He makes himself. I mean, people are going to make a digital copy of that. People are going to the vinyls now these days. They have them. You're going to it's going to be out on YouTube within a week or 2. So people are going to get it. So people that are upset about this right now, they don't understand that they're going to get it eventually because people are going to bootleg it and it's going to get out there.
And for me, vinyl has a bit of an audiophile coming from the industry. You have yourself a good needle, a good record player, and a pristine vinyl album. And you are going to have the richest, most cleanest sound that you will ever have. That far goes beyond any CD.
So if I'm upset and piss anybody off right now,
Johnson and I just had that conversation the other day.
Yep.
But I think it's awesome. I mean, because honestly, I really do feel like people are just complaining. I mean, they're complaining for no reason because you're going to get it eventually. It's going to be out there. It's good. You're not going to have to buy it, but it's going to be made available through somehow. A friend's going to send it to you. You're going to be able to get it on YouTube or hear it. It's going to happen like that because that's the way music is these days. It was a vinyl. I think it was a couple extra tracks on Caught in the Act or something, Come Together by the Beatles. He did, and everything else. It was vinyl only that you can only find on like that. Being people had it where you had on MP3 and everything else. It's going to be there, but yeah, Corey's saying it's annoying to see people like bitch and complain about you can't ever please. I mean, Corey, yeah, it is what it is, but you can never please everybody. Everybody's gonna be upset about something here and there. It is what it is. And but I think if you know Eric Church, if you're a fan of Eric Church's, you followed Eric Church at all, this ain't surprising. This ain't surprising at all to you.
Actually, one of my friends messaged me today and said, I'm so tired of hearing everyone bitch. And I was like, you know what? I unfollow their groups and only go in there like when I want to look at it, just because like ignorance is bliss. Like I don't have to listen to everyone bitch about everything.
Oh yeah. Vinyl is definitely, I mean, I always ask, love seeing artists throw out on vinyl now.
And it's making such a huge comeback right now too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Do you think
I'm excited about it?
Think cassettes will ever make a comeback?
No.
I got a bunch in the closet. I was just curious.
Yeah, I've still got a couple of singles. All right, so that tells you my age.
I told you my Disturbed story, right? I used to work for Disturbed.
Did you?
So when Disturbed is a Chicago band,
right?
And before they did the first album, The Sickness or whatever they had, I was on their street team. I was on the very first Disturbed street team. I still have like 3 or 4 cassette singles of Down with the Sickness.
That's
I would
awesome.
go out and hand out, and they would pay me in concert tickets, like these little private shows at these little like small venues in Chicago before they ever even had an album or a record deal.
That's
so
awesome.
Playing like Metro in Chicago, and I'm hanging out with the guys from Disturbed, and next thing they're blowing up. So
I saw them like at Ozfest in like maybe 05 or 06.
Yeah, they were just a local Chicago band, and I'm like, I'll go street team these guys. I love being in street teams when I was in high school.
Oh yeah, that's a blast.
Dude, I would be on street teams and they play these shows that are 21 or older, and they'd just bring me right in.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, all right, let's have some fun.
Yep, that's how I got into radio.
So, all right, our next segment is powered by Poddex. Same thing. It's called the Hot Seat. I'm going to ask you 10 quick questions. Jason's going to play a 60-second bed. We're going to see how far we can get through it, and see what happens. Go ahead.
You asked a question and then I'll hit it.
Okay. All right. First cassette tape you ever owned.
Ace of Base.
Ooh. What's your hometown famous for?
Oh my gosh. So Cleveland, I would say probably the Major League movies.
Oh yeah, and rock and roll. Come on, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
What household chore do you refuse to do?
There's not really much I refuse to do with having 4 boys, but I've kind of been moving towards making them clean the toilet since they're nasty.
There you go. What's the strangest thing you ever seen in the middle of the road?
A full-size conversion ladder.
That's been the best answer so far.
Yet, yeah.
What are you superstitious about?
Not. I guess my one thing, like every New Year, I make pork and sauerkraut. Like, they say you have to have pork and sauerkraut. So,
what's one thing people buy that you think is a waste of money?
A waste of money. I'm a bad spender, so I'm probably not the one to ask about this. A waste of money.
Can we ask Corey?
Corey would be like, tell her to stop buying vinyl. Actually, no, he wouldn't. He'd tell me to buy more.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's a good one. All right, we'll move on. What's the first?
Okay, go.
What's the first band T-shirt you ever owned?
Probably the Backstreet Boys.
All right. All right. The last one. We're gonna skip a couple of them. What's the oddest job you ever took to earn $1?
You would ask this. So in high school,
it came up on this card deck. I was like, I gotta do it.
This was before the internet was super big, but in high school, I worked for this place that was like this dating company, and like you just basically called and like advertised like this dating company, and these people could sign up and like look at binders and stuff of like various singles. And I'll never forget it because like I had to call people and I'd always be like, please don't answer. Please don't answer. I hated it. And I got my tongue pierced like when I was 17, and like it swells up. And I remember like not being able to talk and being like, please don't answer. Like
every time
I can't talk if they answer.
I think about people talking about their tongue pierced. I think of that movie Rat Race every damn time now. Dude pierces his own tongue. I was like, yep, that's probably what everybody sounds like the first week. So, all right. Well, Mandy, this has been a great time. Anything you want to wrap up with before we end the show for tonight?
I don't think so. If anyone needs help with weight loss, shoot me a message. I'm happy to help.
All right. It's been a great time having you tonight. I've been looking forward to this chat for a long time. I had fun. We even ran over tonight just having a blast, just chit chat and have a good time. So it was a great time. We'll have to just get down the road sometime, but I want to wish you the best 2021 you could have, and we'll talk soon. Hopefully, we'll do a show sometime soon.
Oh, yes.
Cheers, some water and some Jack. You got the Jack, I got the water.
Yeah.
All right, Mandy. You have a great night, and we'll catch up soon. All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, that was fun tonight.
That's always fun, man.
I had a good time.
I love her. She's awesome.
She was a riot. Like I knew we were gonna have fun, a good talk. So
175 pounds though.
That's huge.
That's amazing. That's a full grown adult that she lost.
Well, that's where I was weighing 275. Yeah, I got up to 275 and I'm down to 195 now.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Extremely impressive. I thought of just real quick. You asked me who I've seen the most in concert.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of one other person. This is going to be a little embarrassing, but Barry Manilow.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I think I've probably seen him at least 10 times.
All right.
My parents took me to that was my first show when I was 10.
I'd go see him.
And we saw him a lot. My wife and I went on his final tour, and anytime he was in town, we were always going to his show. One
person I saw, we're talking about concerts, but one person I saw that I never thought I'd ever pay. Well, I didn't pay to see him because I worked in Tennessee, but Michael Bolton.
Oh, really?
He came through, and I watched some of the show, a couple of the songs. I'm like, damn, I'd actually probably go back to see this guy.
Really?
It was really good. It was a good, entertaining show. I'm like, all right, I could get down with some Michael Bolton. I mean, I don't know if I was just bored at work and it was that entertaining, but
well, he happened to be there, and you were there, so you might as well pay attention to it, right?
Yeah, I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. All right.
All right, y'all. That was a fun one. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Next week we are kicking off. It's gonna be a fun time. Next week, wrapping up or kicking off. I have episode 66. I didn't update that right. I'm a little far behind on that one.
Yeah.
I started sending out some invitations for season 4 tonight. Or today. So some really cool names. I cannot wait to start announcing some once we get some on board and bringing them on. If you guys have anyone that you want to see come on the show, fan, artist, or just someone interesting in your life, send me a message. We're gonna get them on, and we're gonna keep running with this. This is a fun time.
Yep.
So we'll see you guys next week.
The Gainin' Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver is brought to you by Arlo Revolution. As we close the book on another chapter, remember, music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Next week, Aaron connects more melodies and memories with other fans and the artists they love. Thanks for being a part of this musical journey, and we'll see you next time on the Gainin' Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver.